Greetings, friends. It's Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
That was a weird voice.
It was a weird voice. I liked it.
But this is the Dead Tired Dads podcast, and we are here today on the Dead Tired Dads podcast because we are a podcast for gamers that don't have time to game.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what we're here to do, is talk about games and life as tired parents.
I am one of those.
I am very
That's
tired today. This is a fact. So, yeah. What's going on, Ryan?
Well, not a lot.
That good, huh?
I've been playing lots of games lately, but I don't want to just jump straight into
yeah,
that.
Sure.
So,
no, obviously.
So we got to start with some kind of funny story or something,
Okay,
some
fine.
kind of anecdote or something.
I've got something.
All right.
I do have a funny story. So, I got the opportunity to go to a game store that we have here close by us called Game Exchange.
Yes.
This past Monday, I had Monday off, and so I was able to get down there. So I had scheduled an eye doctor's appointment. And I went down to my eye doctor's appointment, and afterwards I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop into this game store, Game Exchange, to just look around. I just want to look around, and so I look in there, and I see that they've got, I'm looking at all the different stuff, and they've got, the cases up at the front.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at them and like, oh, there's a copy of Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. It's like, I'd love to have that game. Like,
Gotta get it.
I just want to look at it. And so they get it out, and like one of the guys who's working there comes over and is like, oh, you're talking about Dreamcast. I love the Dreamcast. Like, I'm a Dreamcast aficionado. And he's like, if you're looking at Dreamcast games, here are 4 that like I think you would really like. And he pulls out 4 other games from the case, and one of them catches my eye. It doesn't have the actual, the artwork and stuff with it, but I recognize the design on the game as Jet Grind Radio.
Oh yeah,
which I've been looking for on the Dreamcast for forever, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been looking for that game. I've really wanted that for a while. And so it was like $60, and I was like, for the price of a new game,
yeah,
I'm gonna like get this because I've been looking for it. I'm like, I walked around the store for a while, just kind of thinking, am I gonna get it? Am I not? And I don't know. And finally, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it.
Pull the trigger.
So then I drive back home from the store, and I call my wife, and it turns out that they're actually out. She's out with the kids, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll just meet you guys for lunch somewhere. And so I get back in my car, and I drive back to Lexington.
Yes. I like where this is going.
And I had told, while I was there, I was talking with one of the guys there, and I told him, hey, I'll get you, like, we were talking, and the podcast came up, so I was like, hey, and he was like, oh, I'd love to listen to that, and I'm like, well, go ahead and do so, and I'll get you a sticker. And so when I came home, I was like, oh, I'll grab a sticker to take to him, and I'll give him a sticker, and then, after we finish eating lunch, I'll go back over there. So after we finish lunch, I go back to Game Exchange.
Nice.
And we buy a broken Xbox controller for my son, who likes things with, like, he's always constantly stealing controllers. So we got a broken Xbox controller. So then finally so now I'm back home from Lexington, get back in and get my Dreamcast out, I'm really excited, I'm getting everything set up, and I put in my copy of Jet Grind Radio, and it doesn't work.
No.
And so I'm like, okay, that's crazy. So then I'm like, well, I know I have a couple of broken Dreamcasts. Maybe the Dreamcast that I grabbed is one that doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, I'll try this one that I'm fairly certain, like I'm almost positive this one works. Put the game in, and it doesn't work. And I'm just like, okay, what could possibly be wrong here? And so I grab another Dreamcast game, and I'm like, I'm just gonna throw this in. Boots right up, no issue.
Oh man!
And I'm like, oh gosh, what is happening? And then I go, so on the Dreamcast, they're like on the main menu, the home screen, as we would call it today. It's not really the home screen, but that's what it would be recognized as today. So there's 4 different options, like where you can like play the game, access your save data, access settings and then a play music, and so it's got like a separate CD player type thing. So I go over, like I just start trying to click on thing, and I click on the music thing, and it pulls up an audio file on the Jet Grind radio game, and I hit the play button, and something starts going off in Japanese, and I'm like,
what?
Hang on a second. Hang on just a second. What it was the Japanese version of Jet Grind Radio. And as such, it was region locked. Ergo, it would not play.
Not gonna happen.
On an American Dreamcast. So I get back in my car and drive back to Lexington to get my $60 back.
Of course.
But I was very, very disappointed.
And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that they did not have another copy.
Oh, no. Yeah. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the search for Jet Grind Radio continues.
It continues. That's a bummer.
It really is, because I was like, I haven't played that game in forever, and I remember playing it very briefly, but like thinking it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so like, just like trying to get it, like looking forward to like having that limited experience expanded, and then like having my hopes dashed as something that I wasn't going to be able to play.
Terrible.
It was very upsetting. And the guy was very gracious and was able to get me taken care of. So shout out to that guy. And hopefully is listening to this podcast.
And you got him some stickers.
Yeah, he got a sticker. So
nice.
Yeah, so it's very cool. So
I've been meaning to go over there, actually.
You should do it.
And I have no excuse because I live
right next to it.
12 seconds away from it. So
it's true. So anyway, that's my. I don't know if it's a funny story this week. It's more of a depressing, like I wasted a bunch of gas and drove.
High hopes dashed.
Lost a bunch of money. I guess I could have kept it technically as like a collector's thing. It's like the Jet, but like I want to play it.
Yeah, but for it to be region locked, you don't want to spend that kind of money.
No.
I will keep it as a collector's item for $10, maybe, but
I do have a Japanese GameCube.
Ooh,
that's broken. So
okay, let's just pause. You keep referencing all these potentially broken systems and consoles, and I gotta ask, like, how? What's going on here, Josh?
How did I get the broken consoles, or
are you breaking them?
No,
or are you?
No,
okay.
I did not break them.
Okay.
I had a friend at one point who was big into who really kind of helped get me more into video games, but he was like really big into games and stuff like that, and so he. Before the GameCube was released here, he ordered a GameCube from Japan and had it. So like before the GameCube was released, I was actually able to play it.
Interesting.
So, but he also had a Dreamcast, and he would mod and stuff like that. So, so what happened with his? I don't know his Dreamcast. He had 2 of them that he sold me at one point. Well, what happened was he had all of this video game stuff that he just sold me all at once for like $75 because he joined the Air Force and was getting rid of all of his stuff.
Yeah.
So I just bought everything he had.
Right.
I just bought.
Yeah.
And that included like his broken consoles and stuff like that. So like, the Dreamcast, I think there was just something that went wrong with the laser, like the scanner that just broke. And I had a couple of guys look at it. I think they might have fixed one of them, but they couldn't fix the other one. But with the GameCube, he was modding something on it so that he could play American games on his Japanese GameCube. And in order to do such, he had to solder something.
Nice.
And while he was soldering, one of his dogs ran up and bit him.
Oh.
And so he, his hands...
That makes it a little hard.
And he soldered something incorrectly, and it,
nuked it.
So the motherboard is completely fried and destroyed.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got that. But it's complete in box.
That's pretty cool, though.
So...
That's pretty cool. A little collector's thing.
Yeah, it doesn't work, but it's a Japanese GameCube complete in box. So there you go.
You don't need it to work. You just say you have it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so yeah, those are this is just a sad intro of like all of the stuff that Josh has that doesn't work.
Well, the reason I had to ask is because I had this. You kept mentioning like broken consoles, and I had this picture of like teenage Josh like getting mad at his Dreamcast and slamming it down or something.
No, so. I would not have gotten multiple consoles for that. Like, my parents would not have abided.
That is not the path to getting a new Dreamcast.
Yeah, my parents would not have put up with that kind of behavior and would not have bought me a new console had I broken mine.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, anyway, those are my sad stories.
Sad stories. All right. Well.
If you have a copy of Jet Grind Radio, I'm willing to pay. I am willing to pay you $60.
Please send it to Josh.
So yeah.
There you go.
Well, there you go. That's it. So that's the Dead Tired Dads podcast. Oh wait, no, we've got.
Oh no, I actually have to talk about video games.
Yeah, we're here to talk about games, not just be depressed with Josh. So.
Boy.
So Ryan, I've taken up enough time with my stories. Why don't you tell us about your game this week?
Well, I kind of feel like my game is like not that exciking.
Okay.
So maybe this whole episode
is
just
the depressed game podcast this week.
It wasn't a bad game, but it was just kind of me.
Okay.
I played Kirby Crystal Shards.
Okay. That recently was released on the expansion of the Nintendo Online. So if you've got that, you have that for free.
Yeah.
I actually saw... Speaking of that game...
Here we go.
Sorry. I actually saw that they had a copy of that at Game Exchange, which is like one of the few times that I've ever actually seen that game.
For the copy
64.
For the N64?
Yeah. So.
Do you remember how much it was by chance?
Expensive.
Of course.
It was in rough shape too. Like the sticker was half like ripped off.
Yeah.
And, oh man, golly, there's so much. Sorry, I'm gonna backtrack.
Do it.
We're backtracking again. We did this last week too.
Yeah,
we rewound. Or no, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. We did this thing where we went back. So, they had a copy of. It wasn't out yet, but the guy told me that they have a copy of Clay Fighter 64.
Oh,
like the complete. Like,
no way.
So the original Clay Fighter was Clay Fighter 63 1/3. That was what was released in stores. They had gotten a copy like only video rental places had like Clay Fighter 64.
Yeah.
With all the characters that were supposed to be included originally. And but it is like he said it's like a $3,000 game, and they had like sent it off to get graded.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Like
that is cool. I remember that game vividly.
Well, and I remember when like they were starting to sell off like N64 games and stuff like that, and like in like Movie Gallery and Blockbuster and stuff like that. And I saw a copy of Clay Fighter, like of the Clay Fighter, and I didn't like. I was young, so I didn't think that like I
didn't think anything about it.
And like, looking back, it's like you moron.
I kind of did the same thing. I had 63 1/3, and
such a great game.
Our local Blockbuster had Clay Fighter 64, and kind of the same thing. Why would I have thought anything about
at that
it?
point, at that point, like who cares, right? Yeah. Now it's a $3,000 game. Man, you could have gotten it for $20 used at Blockbuster.
Dang.
Anyway, so back to game reviews.
So Kirby the Crystal Shards came out. If you have Nintendo Switch Online, the expansion pack, it came out recently. I had never played this game when Nintendo 64 was new and fancy.
New and fancy.
I've never really. I have nothing against it. I've just never really gotten into the Kirby franchise all that much. When I've played him in other games like Super Smash Bros, stuff like that, I've always thought the character was cool. Like the concept was pretty cool. I just for whatever reason never got into the franchise. So I thought I already have the expansion pack. I might as well play it. So I played it. It was okay, but it was just it's only about 3 or 4 hours long, and it just was kind of repetitive.
Okay.
To me, like first couple of levels, I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is pretty fun. And then as the game went on, I was like, this is the same thing.
I'm doing the same thing
just
over and over.
Did. Yeah. One cool thing that they did do that I think, I could be wrong because like I said, and I'm not into the franchise, One thing that I think they introduced in this game is Kirby could, if you're familiar with the character, he's like can swallow people or enemies or whatever. In this game, you could actually swallow. You could like swallow an enemy and gain their sort of power or whatever. So it's like a fire enemy. Then you could breathe fire. And then you could also. This is what I think they introduced. You could combine two powers. So like at one point I was running around with like a sword that was on fire as Kirby.
I feel like
I don't know if they ever did that before.
I feel like they had introduced that in an earlier one.
They could have.
I too am not like super like I had played other Kirby games, but I'm not super familiar with all of them, and so it seems like something that I feel like was in another Kirby game, but I could be completely wrong on that.
And if they did, like it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like,
it's a cool thing. Like and it's a logical evolution of the character.
Right.
So,
the downside to that was I sort of quickly discovered. So my oldest son enjoyed watching me play this game, that was cool about it because he enjoyed it, and so it was something we did together. But we sort of quickly discovered we were trying out all these different combinations. And we quickly discovered that only one or two were like
worth
it. The rest were kind of lame.
That's stupid.
So that was kind of disappointing because there was lots of combinations you could have, but only a couple were worth anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, this game's kind of meh to me because you can play it in very short chunks. Only takes about 3 to 4 hours. So if you want a game to beat really quick and
feel like you accomplished something,
say you beat a game, then go for it. If you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, you've got the game.
It's free.
Which I would pay for just for Ocarina of Time alone. So,
true.
There you go. You've got it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Kirby is family friendly. My son and I, like I said, we enjoyed sort of trying to come up with like ideas of what combinations we could use. So that was cool It always adds a little bit of fun to play a game with your kid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that added. I will say that he enjoyed it more than me, which is great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you can get it for free, or go to a used game store and pay like $40 or $50 for it.
Yeah, and then you got to have the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, and then find an N64, which is also $60 or so.
Yep.
So you too can play. You could pay $100 a year for access to it. Less than $100 a year for access to it through the expansion, or get the real experience by playing it. Paying $100 for a game.
The authentic.
Yeah, for the authentic experience.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, like I said, meh.
Who's the villain?
Oh gosh,
you don't know? Okay, that's okay.
His name.
It's not D.
All I know is when I was sort of reading about it after the fact, apparently there was some controversy around the rating of this game because the final boss, he has like one eye and there's one little drip of blood coming down out of his eye, and so there was like this big controversy around should that have changed the rating because technically there's blood in the game. There is one droplet of blood in the game.
So they would have taken it from E to teen?
Yes.
Over the one drop of blood?
Over one drop of blood.
How far we've come.
I know, right?
Like...
So I was... Actually, the fascination that I got out of this game was reading about that controversy after the fact.
That sounds way more interesting than...
One drop of blood changed the rating.
We should do an episode on like.
And apparently, it's still an ongoing debate, according to the dates of some of the forums I was reading.
That's the topic we should discuss at some point. Is the ratings of video games.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, and how that's changed over the years.
I bet it'd be fun to compare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, cool. So
that's Kirby.
Kirby, it's kind of meh.
Kind of meh.
Like a cat.
Kirby meh. The Crystal Shards. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay. Well, I want to talk about so you're talking about an old game. I'm talking about a relatively recent one.
Here we go.
I played a game on Game Pass.
Hey,
there it is. It makes
Game
a
Pass.
Triumphant return of Game Pass. called the Pedestrian.
Oh, here we go.
So the Pedestrian starts off, and you pick. You've got two options, male or female, and you
makes sense.
You pick one, and you are that. So and it's like like a crosswalk character is what it's showing.
Okay,
like,
sure.
So, and so you pick that, and then you start walking across the screen, and that's what you're a pedestrian, like on a crosswalk.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go through this world.
Just walking along.
Yeah. Now there are the thing is like you have to go through and solve different puzzles, and there are different. So it starts off, it's very simple. Like you're just walking. You walk from one room to another, and then you get to as you're moving around. It's so hard to describe. Like as I was thinking about doing this episode, I was like,
how am I going to talk about?
How am I going to talk about? But I really wanted to, because this game is actually really cool. I really liked it.
We finally got some excitement in this depressing episode.
This very depressing episode has now become excited because Josh is now getting into this game that's very cool. So first off, you can be kind of in the tile controlling your pedestrian, or you can be outside of it controlling the tiles. And so you can move tiles around so that your pedestrian character can kind of go from one tile to another, and you have to kind of connect. And then there are different doors and things like that you can open by connecting the tiles together.
Okay.
Through those different doors. And so if you connect it one way, that's how it has to be until you get out of that particular section.
I see.
It's confusing to describe, and as I was thinking about this, right before we started recording, I was like, I haven't played this recently enough to
yeah,
because I've been doing other stuff, and it was a little bit ago that I finished this. But by the way, I did beat this game. I did beat this game. So
Josh, you're on a roll lately of beating video games.
I'm beating games. This is my year, Ryan.
Just got to get you on Breath of the Wild. Just got to get you to finish that one.
I will finish Breath of the Wild at some point before Breath of the Wild 2 comes out.
Oh, well, I mean, don't stress yourself, Josh. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
But anyway, so as you progress, there are other elements that it adds on, and the things that you're doing inside the tiles are is controlling things in the real world.
Oh, okay.
Because you're just a pedestrian and a crosswalk guy, and there are just so many different elements, and you're going through and you're collecting all of these different pieces and adding them to this Game Boy type thing that kind of travels around with you. And then at the end of the game, you actually have transitioned from the pedestrian on the tiles to an actual person, and you're walking on this rooftop, and you're trying to, but you still and the things that you're doing on the tile, I can't figure out how to describe this. It's so hard. I'm sorry, people. Okay, look, here's my review. It's an awesome game. You should play it. That's
there you
it.
go.
That's all there is to it.
It's fun. Play it.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a puzzle game.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a puzzle game, which is your thing.
I'm big into puzzles. I like puzzle games, so totally my thing. But so you go from at the last kind of section, you're this real person, you're on this rooftop, and you have to kind of go in and out of different sections. You find different tiles that you can put your pedestrian into.
Oh, okay.
And you can when you manipulate things in that area, it manipulates things in the real world. So you're trying to solve this final puzzle that's kind of being solved on the tiles, but also in the real world.
Yep.
And figure out how do you what do you need to do? It's very cool. And so many different elements that that as you progress. At first it starts off really simplistic. It's just just connect this door to that door and you get to your exit.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then it's okay, now you have to get electricity is involved, and you have to connect electricity to in the real world, connect electricity to this other piece of electricity to open this thing that then allows you access to this other tile that you have to get to, and So yeah, just so many different. The way that it evolves, it starts off very, very easy.
Yeah.
And like by the time you get into it, you're like, there are some puzzles where you're just like,
how?
I can't, like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
And so I was able to beat it, and it's one of those games that if you don't, I could see something like a situation in which, someone would play it for like a couple hours and then be like, be done with it. But like I really think like especially if you're into puzzle games, like totally worth finishing, and it's really not that long to beat. I beat it in a few days. Playing for a couple hours a day, so I probably 10 to 12 hours. I don't know. We could get our tech department if we wanted them to, but I don't know if it's worth it.
So here's a question for you. Was it? I'm guessing on Steam, but
it is on. So it is available on Steam. It's $20 on Steam. $20 on. So it's also on PlayStation and Xbox right now.
Oh, okay.
It's as of the recording of this podcast on PlayStation, it's actually on sale for $10.
There you go.
But and it's coming to the Switch eventually, is what I read.
Personally, I think that sounds like a great Switch game.
Yeah, I think it would be a great Switch game.
Because something you can play on the go.
Yeah, it would be a great Switch game. So yeah, a very cool game, very cool concept, very very mellow game for the most part. It's got a lot of really great scenery. There's a lot of really great, you get a lot of street scenes and things like that, and because you're traversing through a city as you're doing this stuff, and you, just a really fun, relaxing play. Definitely kid friendly, not, no violence or anything. Oh, I shouldn't say no violence. Your character can, like your pedestrian guy can be destroyed and killed, and it's kind of a...
You are in a crosswalk, after all.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like, just on a crosswalk, but anyway.
Here's another question for you I have. How can I phrase it? So if you play the game a second time, are the puzzles the same, or can they change?
I think it's the same. Okay. It kind of progresses it progresses in a linear way because you're collecting. The goal is to collect all of these different pieces for your Game Boy thing.
Okay, I gotcha.
And so, but like in different levels and areas and stuff like that, there are like lasers and stuff that you have to figure out how to block.
Yeah.
And things like that. So if you get in front of the laser, your guy explodes. And,
nice.
and just like a black ink, splatter. So yeah, it's a really cool game.
Nice.
Quick play. I think our tech department might have looked up the time. Did they?
They did. They're working hard. Our tech department is working hard.
Yeah.
Our favorite resource.
Yes.
Well, they're not working hard. But if you're not familiar with howlongtobeat.com, the way that they tell you how long it takes is gamers submit their times to them,
right? And
no one has submitted their time.
Oh, well, dang.
So howlongtobeat.com actually has the game listed, and then 0 submissions for how long it took people to beat it.
Maybe I'm the only person that beat it.
If you submit your time, you will control the whole information for that game on their website.
I guess I could look it up. I assume maybe it tracks that in Game Pass somewhere where it tells me how long I've played.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure it does.
So I guess I could look that up, but that's that's too much work at this point.
Yeah, who wants to do that?
So I don't think it took me that long to beat.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really cool, like they do a lot of the game does a good job of, as you're progressing through, like making it challenging and then kind of throwing more curveballs at you to make you go, what? Like really? Yeah. Like what does this do? Like, and then you figure out what it does, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like getting way overly complicated, but it's so cool. It's such a cool concept.
It does sound pretty fun.
It's a fun game. So that's my review of the Pedestrian.
There you go.
Yeah. So I recommend that you play it. And like I said, you can get it for $20. I think it's worth $20. But I mean, if, you can get it on Game Pass for for basically free.
Even better.
For less than $20 a month. So
there you go.
That's the episode of this episode of Dead Tired Dads.
So the Pedestrian, Josh gives it a yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Kirby Crystal Shards, Ryan gives it a meh.
Ryan gives it a cat.
I give it a cat.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. This has been good.
I
enjoyed our time together today.
It has been good.
And you know what? I bet other people that you know would enjoy listening to our takes.
Yes, they would.
You know, I bet they would.
Of course they would.
Yeah, they absolutely would.
Sure.
So you know what you should do?
All the things.
You should share this podcast with them, and you should like the podcast on Facebook. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter, although it doesn't do anything there. But it doesn't really do anything on Facebook either, other than post that there's a new episode up.
Just tell people to go listen.
Yeah. So, but that's what we do here. We tell you to go listen there too.
Do it.
So do all those things.
Yeah.
Give us a comment. Give us if you want to hear, about a particular game. If you think something would be good for us to play, let us know, and we'll see.
I do have something to toss in as we go.
We exit.
I'll probably repeat this. So in about a month, maybe a little over a month, I have a 2-week work trip.
Oh yeah.
To the continent of Africa.
No.
So I'll be traveling a lot.
Yeah. Ryan needs games.
So please send me Switch game recommendations because I need
something to play while he's out.
Those are some long flights and some long car rides.
Absolutely. So, that would be very helpful for Ryan if you would send those recommendations his way.
Yep.
So all that to say, thank you again for listening. Do all the things, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of the Dead Tired Dads podcast.
Bye.